When Josh cornered me in the hall and said, I need to speak to you, my first thing was, what did I do wrong? And then when he said, could you do this speech? I was so relieved I said yes without realizing what I got myself into. So well played, Josh. And he said, speak about anything you want, but please don't get me in trouble. So I'm going to not get you in trouble here, Josh. But the more I thought about speaking, the more I thought about public speaking and how it has changed my life. Now, I want you to take a moment and think about your own experience with public speaking. What was the first time you spoke in public? Was it show and tell in kindergarten? Were you in Cub Scouts or Girl Scouts? It happened a long time ago, and yet those experiences shape us. Now, my experience was Sunday school. We did a lot of what we call talks. And it's part of what Josh played on. He knew I'm used to the terminology talk. So he said, can you talk? And he knew that about me. So we would do these little talks. We called them 2.5-minute talks. And I would have been 4 or 5. And undoubtedly what they did is, who wants to give a talk? And I did this. And they wrote out a note to my parents and said, Lois says she's going to give a talk. And then it was up to them to help me come up with something. Well, my mother panicked because I was an extremely shy and very quiet child. She tells me that when I came home with that, she looked at me and said, I can't hear her when she's standing next to me. How are they ever going to hear her in the first row, much less the back row? So she sent me to the end of the hall, and every day for a week, I had to project. And I had to practice and practice. Now, I don't remember the experience. I've seen a lot of kids do this since, and my guess is that on the day of the talk, I did something like this. And my mother whispered, honesty. Oh, yeah. It's important to be honest. Louder. Oh, it's important to be honest. And that would have been my first experience. But my mother was there with me, helping me through this experience. And I had supportive adults and a supportive environment. And I got through my first public speaking experience. Over the years, I had many, many opportunities to go from little talks to longer talks. And eventually, by the time I was in high school, despite my nature, I was prepared to be involved with forensic club, debate, oratory. I even became the radio announcer for my high school in giving news. And that has served me well. Obviously, I'm a teacher. It's like public speaking every day. What does that have to do with my teaching here at KCC? Well, one of our learning objectives is that our students in Math 10 should be able to communicate orally their understanding of math. Now that's challenging, because think about public speaking. About 40% of the population has a phobia of public speaking. So that's your baseline. And speech teachers, I do not envy you. I thought math was bad. It's only about 20% for math. But then I'm going to combine the two, a fear of math and a fear of public speaking. And it's tough. How do you do it? Well, it's been a lovely, lovely spring. And the problem with spring is the pollen. And I have lots of allergies. And so some years back, my children finally said, enough, Mom, you're going to the allergy specialist and do desensitization shots. And so let's talk about how that works. Your body, for no particular reason, decides this little tiny bit of grass pollen is going to kill you. It goes, danger, 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 we must kill it. It thinks the bubonic plague is attacking you. And so a desensitization shot gives you just a little bit of that thing that your body thinks is bad for you and it won't do anything bad to you at all. And you build up slowly until you can tolerate a level that you couldn't tolerate before. And that was my public speaking experience. I started little and I built up over the years until I could tolerate it. My students come in, many of them without much public speaking experience and afraid of math. So what do? The first 2 weeks, I just send out general questions. I go, what do you think the next step would be? I don't call on anybody, and I wait for somebody under their breath to whisper, I think I should add. And I say, speak up. And then in the next couple of weeks, I start giving them harder assignments. And I say, hey, Joe, what do you think the next step is? And I increase the difficulty, because that's exactly how I learned to be a public speaker. And then I give them whole problems to do. And when they falter, I say, that's okay. We'll help you, because by now we have built a supportive environment, and I'm a supportive person, just the same as the experience I had. And by the end of the class, they can write out a multi-step problem, write down all of the reasons they should take the steps they have, and they can stand up in front of the whole group and explain a difficult math problem to the class without panic, because we desensitize. I have a concern about distance ed and high flex. They are wonderful in the opportunities that they give to students. But what I lack is the ability to look in their eye and to hear the little, I think it's an add problem, and say, speak up. And I fear that in our current classes, we sometimes lose this ability to help our students learn how.
I think we're getting interference.
Oh. Pause.
Sorry guys.
You want me to take this one?
Yeah.
Okay. We lose some of our ability to help our students find their voice. I think that students need to know how to add and subtract with negatives. But I think it's more important for them to find their voice. I have used my voice to advocate for the association on campus. Most recently, I used my voice to advocate for the library on OPB. And I will continue to do so because I had the opportunity, with supportive parents, a supportive school system, supportive teachers, to find my voice. This First Amendment gives us the right to speak. But do we really have that full right until we give each other the ability to speak without fear? Thank you.